the show. The show is all about you. Not you, but you and your stories. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Brought to you by JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I am your host, Jeff Seltzer, and it feels really good to be back. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for all the support, all the messages, all the comments about the month of November and where this podcast was. So long story short, at the end of October, when I had released the last episode, I had said I'd be taking a little time off, probably the month of November, and that's what I did. Lots of really fun things, lots of cool things, just life busy stuff, right? Also, you know, the challenges of getting a guest sometimes. I like doing solo pods, but I don't want to do a solo pod every week. So with all that said, I decided to punt it out a little bit, took the month of November off. We are back here in December with some new episodes, new content. I do have some pretty cool guests the next few weeks. Today, I am flying solo, so I'm just talking to myself. But the next few weeks, I will have some really cool topics and guests and such like that. A couple of things that I did want to talk about this week. So number one, I did experience Black Friday a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. I posted on Instagram, I think on Black Friday or the day after, asking my people's experiences if they go out shopping for it and stuff like that. For me, there is a bit of a history there to it. So growing up, I didn't really do much for Black Friday. I mean, I'm 48 years old, so growing up was largely before the internet, you know, and people would, I guess, get their best deals and shopping, you know, in malls and in stores on Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving. My first experiences with Black Friday actually involved when I was working in college and I worked in a mall. So for those of you that are old enough to remember, Black Friday was pretty chaotic years ago. So I worked in Sam Goody at the mall during freshman year of college, actually during sophomore year of college, and then worked in CVS in the mall the last years in college as well. And back then it was a case of as soon as the mall opened, it was pretty chaotic. People were there, people were running all over the place. And even for like a CVS store where it seemed like, hey, people aren't holiday shopping there too much, you would still get a lot of people who were shopping in other stores and would stop in for a soda or whatever while they were there, a pack of cigarettes, you know, whatever it is that they were looking for. So by default, because there were people at the mall, it was pretty busy. So my first year working at the mall on Black Friday was in Sam Goody, which was a huge destination at the time. This is back when people used to still, you know, large scale purchase physical media. So you're talking like CDs, tapes, VHS tapes at the time, stuff like that, you know, for holiday gifts. So as soon as the mall opened, it was pretty chaotic and it was a bit of a mess to deal with. What I learned very quickly was when you work on Black Friday, you want to make sure you're opening and not closing. Why? Because parking became a very, very challenging situation at the mall almost immediately. So I think my first time I was closing that day, so I was probably working like 1 to 8 or 1 to whatever. And it took me forever to find any kind of parking. It was one of those times where years ago when the mall was super busy, you would probably follow people in the parking lot in a very non-scary or suspicious way so that we can hopefully take their parking spot as they're leaving the mall. So that was a learning for me, was to try to work the opening shift if possible. A hack that I did learn eventually was the mall that I worked at had a Jiffy Lube. So I think one year for Black Friday, I ended up getting my oil changed during my shift. So that way I had a place to park my car without having to fight for or run for a spot while I got there. So that was super helpful. Another hack that I had too was when I worked at CVS on Black Friday, the mall stores, the mall pharmacy stores or CVS stores, drugstores, could not get deliveries while the mall was open. So they would get deliveries overnight. So I spent a lot of time during junior and senior year of college working overnight shifts unloading the truck. So there was one year that I did, quote, get credit for working Black Friday at CVS, but I worked from 1 a.m. until 10 a.m. And as you would assume, at 1 a.m., there was no issue finding parking at the mall. So that worked out pretty well. I mean, the downside was when Thanksgiving was over, I had a couple hours of sleep before I had to get to work. But on the plus side, I didn't have to pay for parking, and my shift was over by about 10 a.m., and I can go home and just pass out at that point. I would say the downside to working on Black Friday, I mean, I don't know if it still is that way now, was it's not like a traditional or a true American holiday where you get paid time and a half. Like when I worked retail in college, I remember like if the mall was open July 4th, Memorial Day, Labor Day, you'd get extra money. You get paid time and a half. One year, I ended up working Christmas because when my store was closed on Christmas, there was a 24-hour store that was open, and CVS would pay, I think, double time. So I think I worked 18 hours on Christmas Day the one year and took the rest of the week off. A story that I've told my kids many times, and I'm sure they're very tired of hearing about it at this point. But regardless, that was that. So again, my first experiences were that in terms of working Black Friday. You know, obviously you see the best of people generally when they're shopping on Black Friday, fighting for deals and stuff like that. But that's kind of what I lived through, I'd say, during college. Remember, that was also before the internet, before Prime Day, before Cyber Monday, all that kind of stuff. So most of the people shopping started on Black Friday, and it was all in person, and it was as chaotic as you would think it would be. So now fast forward, 25 years later, and what does Black Friday mean to people? So as mentioned, now you have additional ways to shop. So you've got Prime Day, you've got Cyber Monday, all that kind of stuff. So and then also since COVID, kind of like malls haven't really been what they once were. So it's not quite the same. But I will say, and this is kind of what I wanted to get into, was the last few years on Black Friday, my older daughter and I have gone to Record Store Black Friday. So for those of you that don't know what it is, there are still record stores in the country. Obviously, records kind of went extinct, but then they got cool again because they're retro or people like the sound of it or look of it or whatever. And so they've made a bit of a comeback of sorts. Large scale, small scale, I'm not really sure how big. But for the most part, records do exist again, and probably some more records than CDs these days, I think, too. I think I saw a stat recently on that. So Black Friday Record Store Day, record stores across the country will get limited quantities of exclusive records or vinyls, as they call them. That could be collector's items. That could be just different. Sometimes they're different covers. Sometimes they're different colored record. Sometimes they have additional tracks, or it's an actual album that just has not released before. So it could be a live version of a Pearl Jam album or whatever, right? So generally in like September, October, they'll release it, and then you can figure out, what do you want to get at? So the last few years, my older daughter and I have gone to Factory Records in Dover, New Jersey, which is a really cool, like, record store. Like, it feels a lot like if anybody grew up in the New Brunswick, Middlesex County area, like Barracks Trading Post has a very similar feel where they have like new stuff, they have used stuff, they have equipment, so you can buy record player, stereo stuff, or you can buy used stuff. It's just a very retro feel to it. It looks really cool. So as you would imagine, because there's a lot of records that are super limited in quantity, you've got to get there early. So her and I got there, I want to say about 4:10 a.m., give or take, with the plan being you get in line at 6 a.m. They start giving out numbers, and 8 a.m. they open, you can start buying things. So we got there about 4:10. We were numbers 15 and 16. We had our list of records that both her and my other daughter had wanted. 6 a.m. we got our numbers, like I said. Left, got breakfast at as most people would at 6 a.m. after being up super early. I got steak and eggs. I think she had an omelet, or no, she had a Taylor ham sandwich. She really enjoyed. Got back at 8 o'clock. I got into line, and we ended up getting 3 of the 4 records that were on the list. So my younger daughter loves Benson Boone. Got that for her. My older daughter, I think we got Tucker, or actually Role Model, as he gets called. As well as the Wicked for Good vinyl, which I think was a super limited special pressing for Black Friday. Only album I couldn't get there was like a Back to the Future trilogy score album that was limited, but they only made 1,900 copies of it. So each store only got like 1 or 2 pieces. So by the time we got into the front of the line, which, we were only 15 back, but it's still enough that anybody in front of us could have gotten it. They were sold out of it. So it was fun. It was a great experience. We've done it a number of years now. It's a great bonding experience. I wish maybe we didn't have to wait outside in the cold. It was, I think, 20 something degrees, and with the wind chill, it felt like 17. But it was still, it's still fun just to hang out with my daughter, especially recognizing that she's getting older, and I'm not sure how many more years of things like this I'll have with her. So trying to maximize it and enjoy it as much as I can. For anybody out there who collects records, there's also a, let's say, traditional Record Store Day in April, where there's usually a lot more albums in the offerings in terms of what's limited and what they're offering and such. But Black Friday Record Store Day is pretty good. So that's what we did. That was fun. And will we do it again next year? We'll see what comes up. But, it's definitely in the plans of things we can do. Before we go any further, I wanted to talk through some of the usual plugs. So as always, we are on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. My personal Instagram is at Seltzer77, although I've gone private recently for reasons. Not really any good reason, just wanted to kind of test it out and see what that is. So I would say, focus on the Everybody Has a Story Pod Instagram for the show. If you want to be a guest, if you have any comments, whatever else like that, definitely shoot me a DM on the Instagram. TikTok for the show is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. I've put up some new content there from some of the stuff that I've done recently. When I say done, I mean things that I've gone to and seen. So I'll talk a little bit about how I saw Sabrina Carpenter, posted a couple of videos from there, some other stuff like that. YouTube is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can email the show directly at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. As always, you can check out jeffseltzer.com for all things Jeff Seltzer, as one of my coworkers, Claire, always likes to call out when she walks by. So I appreciate the plug. Thank you, Claire. We also have everybodyhasastorypod.com. Still trying to figure out what I want to do with that, but I do have it as of now. As you probably know, the show is available on video on both Spotify and YouTube. Audio everywhere else. You can find us over at Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, and anywhere else that you can find a podcast. So appreciate the support and everything else like that. Over the last few weeks, I've seen a bunch of movies in theaters. So I figured I'd go through that list of things that I've seen since I last recorded or put out a podcast. So firstly, the last week of October, Back to the Future I believe this was the 40th anniversary of the first movie. They put it back in theaters. I've seen it in theaters multiple times. I did not see it when it first came out in 1985. But it's one that like every anniversary that they have for the movie, I do try to see it because it's just fun. Like I've probably mentioned before, it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's just always cool for me to see it on the big screen and kind of just like watch it all play out and such. So that was really cool as always. My family and I went to go see Wicked for Good. I did enjoy it. I didn't like it as much as the first one. The music wasn't necessarily as nostalgic. I love all of the overlap between Wicked for Good and The Wizard of Oz. I will say also on a personal note, my buddy Stephen Frost, who passed away back in August, at his memorial service, we utilized a song from the first Wicked movie, which was also in this one. So when that song played in the movie, it did hit me a little bit. So I guess maybe emotionally, I did probably enjoy it a little bit more because it gave me that connection. So, that was something for me. I did see Zootopia 2. I thought it was a fun movie. This kind of plays back to my Black Friday story from before as well, in the fact that I am not a napper. So I will just outright say that. I have trouble falling asleep if I'm trying to fall asleep. But if I'm in a movie theater or in kind of like a dark place, like a play or whatever else like that, I can sometimes take a 5 or 10 minute nap just by default. It just happens. Like I'll fight it for a while and eventually I'll just pass out and wake up and feel good enough after like 5 or 10 minutes. So knowing that I was going to be up super early for Record Store Black Friday, I plan on seeing Zootopia 2. A, because I did enjoy the first movie and I wanted to see the second one, but B, just knowing that, in a movie theater, that was probably the best chance for me to get a little bit of rest. So Robin and I went to go see Zootopia 2. As I expected, about 15 minutes into the movie, I fell asleep for about 10 minutes, woke up, felt much better, and enjoyed the movie. So that is nothing to do with the review of Zootopia 2. Fun movie. Definitely go on Disney Plus and check out the first Zootopia and then go see Zootopia 2. I think it's definitely a great movie that all ages will enjoy. Lastly, as a lot of people have as well, caught up on Stranger Things. For the final season, season 5, the first 4 episodes dropped on the day before Thanksgiving, I think it was. So my family and I watched the 4 episodes. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I necessarily loved it more than the other seasons, but I like the continuity. I need closure at this point. I want to see how the story goes. So really excited to see where it goes. And I thought the first 4 episodes were good enough. In terms of the rest of the season, I think the rest drop on Christmas Day. And then the finale drops on New Year's Eve. So interestingly enough, my family and I are going to see Stranger Things on Broadway, the play, on Christmas Eve. So really excited to see that. I've heard that seeing the play helps from a more of a background for Vecna perspective. So really excited to see that. My buddy John saw the play on Broadway and said the effects are great. It looks really cool. It's just a fun play. So very excited to go see that as well. And for those that are interested, the finale, the last episode, it's like 2:15 or 2.5 hours, I think, will drop on Netflix on New Year's Eve. AMC theaters are also going to be showing it in movie theaters too. So I think there's like an 8 o'clock showing when it drops on Netflix as well on New Year's Eve. And then on New Year's Day, there are a bunch of showings as well. So we are going to see the finale on New Year's Day at the theater. Fantastic deal. Also, I have to add, so I have the AMC Stubs A-list deal where usually you get, 4 movies a week, whatever. This is one of those special offerings, so it's excluded from it. But what they are offering is if you buy tickets to go see Stranger Things, the finale at AMC theaters, the actual ticket is free, but you have to buy a $20 food and beverage gift card. So that's kind of a complicated way of saying it costs $20 to go see the show finale, and you get a $20 gift card for food and drinks. Word that out however you'd like to. So $80 for the 4 of us to go see it, and it includes $80 worth of food. So in essence, it really doesn't cost us much, and it should be a really cool experience. I mean, I think Stranger Things is a show that'll look really cool on the big screen with the effects and everything else like that. And the first season aired in 2016, so we're talking about 9 or so years at this point. So it'll be really cool to kind of like watch the conclusion of this journey as a family at the movies, on New Year's Day. It should be really, really fun. I think there are still tickets available in various theaters, and they keep adding more showings as well as more and more sell out. So if you're interested in Stranger Things and you want to see the finale on the big screen, definitely recommend checking that out. Other things that I've done over the last few weeks, which I thought were really cool. So as mentioned before, my family and I saw Sabrina Carpenter at Madison Square Garden in late October. For those of you that aren't aware, and you probably know at this point, like I love pop music. You could say I go to these concerts for my kids, but like for me, it's great because like I really, really enjoy a lot of these shows. Like I took Robin to go see Halsey back in June. We saw Sabrina Carpenter. We took the family to go see Benson Boone back in September. I took Robin to see Lady Gaga a few years ago. Me and Allison went to go see Billie Eilish a few years ago. Like for me, I just really enjoy it. Like I don't know what it is or something about the way that like pop music just hits me, but I just really, really enjoy it. I saw NSYNC twice back in like 2000, 2001. I do like a lot of harder stuff and rap stuff and whatever, and rock and whatever else like that. But like pop music, there's just something about it that just kind of sticks with me. So Sabrina was great. She's a great performer. Definitely played into the audience. It was a very, very fun show. Really enjoyed it, and glad that we got to go see it. We all enjoyed it, which was great. A few weeks later, I went with my buddy Marcus, Lucas, and Daniel, and we had a doubleheader of wrestling. So for the second year in a row, GCW Wrestling had a show at the American Dream Mall over here in East Rutherford, New Jersey, which is just across the parking lot from MetLife Stadium. Really great experience. I mean, there's a really cool visual of seeing, a wrestling ring in the middle of a mall, multi-level mall. So you could see escalators, whatever else like that. And just like wrestling matches happening there. Really, really fun. It was a good time. Great to see Marcus, as I don't see him that often because he does live, fairly far away. But it's good to, not just virtually talk to him on the podcast, or I text to him very frequently, but to actually hang out with him for a day. That was cool. And then that night, the 4 of us also went to go see AEW Wrestling Full Gear pay-per-view over at the Prudential Center, which was a very fun show. I haven't seen AEW in a while. It's been very, very busy. So AEW has not been on the top, but like just going into it cold without knowing much about it. Like I knew most of the wrestlers. It was a very, very fun show. We had really, really good seats, really enjoyed the overall experience. So that was pretty great. So much so that it sold me on going to see AEW Wrestling at the Hammerstein Ballroom later this month. So I'm taking my daughters to go see that. It should be fun. Daniel and I went to AEW Ring of Honor at the Hammerstein last December. So looking forward to going back again, experiencing it. It's my daughter's first wrestling show in a couple of years. So, similar to what I said before about Black Friday with Robin, don't know how many more wrestling shows I can take the girls to, because they've kind of outgrown their wrestling bug, if they've really had one. So definitely trying to enjoy it as much as I can, enjoy the experience, live through it and create some memories. So that'll be a good time. So looking forward to that. A couple more things to talk about, then we'll call it a week. So this past week, December 4th, was the 7-year anniversary of the last time I got laid off from corporate America. I think I've mentioned previously that since graduating college, I've been laid off twice. I was laid off in 2015, and then I was laid off in 2018. Corporate America is a very weird and interesting place. I'm not going to really dig too deep into that for various reasons. And obviously, as you see in the news, some companies lay off for all sorts of reasons, financial reasons, restructuring, stuff like that. So what I want to want to talk about a little bit was this past week was the 7-year anniversary of last time I got laid off, which is very strange. I'm sure at one point I'll talk more about the details, behind it, but corporate does what corporate does. What I did want to talk about was, as more people are getting laid off, as the economy does, whatever the economy does, for me, I would say the most important thing is to obviously stay professional. Don't go out in a weird way. Try to keep it together. Don't burn bridges. It's a small world. You never know what connection can help you get to your next role that may still be there. But for helped me the most, I'd say, was even beyond that, just creating routines. So when I was looking for a job post that layoff, looking for a job, I would say, is not really a 40-hour-a-week task. There's only so many places you can apply to. There's only so many times you can, tweak your resume. So many things you can do. So the best thing you can do is, schedule time every week or every day to kind of do the job search, as well as to get your stuff together. But at the same time, your mental health is super important as well. So making sure that, you have routines. So for me, I'll say at the time, my routines included going to the gym every day, playing some Xbox, going to the movies, making dinner at home, doing laundry for the family, like stuff like that, right? But like things that like basically, mentally I was able to say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do tomorrow, this is what I'm gonna do the next day, and kind of have a schedule for myself. Maybe that doesn't work well for everybody, but for me, that was kind of the mindset that worked. At the end, I ended up, getting the job that I needed. Once my severance was up, worked out well. But at the same time, you could be off between jobs for a week. You could be off between jobs for 6 months, a year, 2 years. So trying to keep your sanity and trying to keep your mental health in check is super, super important. So if you do get laid off at any point in your career, it's very natural. Don't take it personally. Oftentimes it's just, boxes or seats, not, you personally, which is tough in the time to kind of recognize and kind of live through. But at the same time, the more rational and logical you can be through with it, the better it'll be for yourself and for those around you. So things to keep in mind. If you ever want to chat about or talk about hey, your specific situation, or if you want any kind of advice or feedback on what to do or else like that, definitely shoot me a DM on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. And I'd love to chat and see how I can help you out if that's the case. A couple more things. So this past week, all the Spotify Wraps came out. Really love seeing it. So for me, I've posted on the Instagram last week. There were 36 people that I was their number one podcast listen to, which for me is just insane. Like I absolutely love it. Love the support. Love that people are listening to this, watching this, consuming this content however you are. For me, it's just a passion project. It's fun. I've mentioned before, I don't make any money off this. It's actually cost me money. It's just something that gives me, a creative outlet to kind of get ideas out there, to talk to people, to connect and stuff like that. So the fact that there are as many as 36 people who this is their top listen to or watch podcasts, like, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it and really super excited that, you decide to spend your 10, 20, 30, 50, whatever minutes with me on a weekly basis. So thank you for that. Additionally, I am in the top 20% of video streamed on Spotify, which is also kind of, interesting to me as well, right? Like I am let's say an unknown podcast for the most part. But somehow the content that I have here is in the top 20%. Is that good or is that bad? I don't know. Like maybe I'm competing against people who put out like one video and just kind of sits there. Maybe just it's the quantity over quality that gets me in the top 20%. Not really sure. But with that said, I'll enjoy it. I'll exploit it. I'm excited about it. So thank you for that. I did see a number of people who posted their top 5 podcasts for the year in terms of most streams and I did land in. So really excited about that. So Joey Knight Jr., Jeff and Marcus Brandon, all who are previous guests of the show, and I definitely suggest checking out their episodes. They all had posted that I was in their top 5. I think I was like number 3 for at least 2 of them, maybe number 2 or something like that. But I'm really, really excited. Really love the support, and thank you so much, guys. So if you're all listening right now, thank you. Anything I could do to obviously, improve the podcast or add to it or whatever, definitely let me know. I try to be as humble as possible and try to learn along the way. So anything that, people want to listen to or watch, let me know. I mean, I try to, and for the most part, create the podcast around what would interest me, or if I saw a podcast existed, like why I would want to listen or watch it. But again, I'm N=1 and am I the main audience here? I don't know. I mean, my name is in the podcast, but at the end of the day, I don't think I'm the draw. I think the guests are. So if there's anything else out there or any guests people want to hear, reach out, let me know. I'll see what I can do, and I will go with that. Steps. So earlier in the year, I had mentioned that my goal for the year was to average over 10,000 steps per day for the entire year. Previous to this year, I think my highest step year was like 7,200 steps per day for the year, which is, I guess decent. That's probably my natural steps that I usually get. So as we sit here in the first week of December, I will say that for the year, I am over 10,000 steps per day for the year, which is insane. I mean, I'm at the point now where I did the math that if I didn't take another step the rest of the year, I would still have my highest step year ever, which is insane considering we still have like 3.5, 4 weeks left. So it's been a lot of work. I'll say that. There's been a lot of nights where around like 8 or 8:30, I realize that I'm light on steps and I start getting a ridiculous amount of steps like right before going to bed. Is that healthy and trying to go to sleep? I'm not really sure, but the KPI that I'm trying to hit at this point is 10,000 steps per day. So I'm going to keep pushing and see what I can do. It's a lot of work. I will say also that, going into this, people were like, hey, if you get a lot more steps, more exercise and 10,000 steps a day, you'll feel more energized and feel better. I don't know that I necessarily feel that. I mean, granted, I don't know how I would feel if I didn't get 10,000 steps a day. But it's been exhausting. So I'm glad that I set the goal. I'm glad that I'm there right now. I'm going to do everything I can to complete this goal for the year. And then I guess next year, I got to see what my next goal is. If I try to go for like 10,200 or whatever else, I just want to make sure I'm not moving the goalpost too much on myself, because oftentimes I'll exceed a goal and then I'll get upset that I didn't, hit my stretch goal, which I don't know, it's a bit aggressive, but that's what we do, I guess, right? Last two things. So funny story here. So about a year and a half ago, or one of my earlier episodes, I talked about the tale of two Jeff Seltzers. I talked about how, there was a Jeff Seltzer that lived a few towns over from me, was a great track star. And when I tried out for cross country, my coach thought that I was him and was really excited until he saw me run for the first time. And then how like mine and the Jeff Seltzer's lives kind of ran parallel for a number of years. So eventually he changed his name. So I guess I won the game of Jeff Seltzer Chicken. Maybe about 6 or 8 months ago, I had reached out to another Jeff Seltzer. So not the Jeff Seltzer that was great at track, but another one on LinkedIn. And I was like, hey, I'd love to get you on the podcast if you're ever interested. He's some huge financial mogul. So for me, I think it could be an interesting conversation in the fact that he deals or works in finance, which is something that, I have a lot of interest in, but also we have the same name. So I think it could definitely be, an interesting or fun episode. So we messaged briefly on LinkedIn. Then he gave me a cell number. We texted a little bit, but he had no interest in joining the podcast. So totally get it, right? It's not for everybody. I totally forgotten about that. And then maybe about a month or so ago, I couldn't find my notes app right away. So I tried to text myself a message. Problem was I texted the other Jeff Seltzer, and it was nothing personal or nothing sensitive, just kind of something silly or stupid. And then I immediately deleted my message because I realized what I had done. But by then he had responded back with like, hey, sorry, still not interested in joining the podcast. So I got a kick out of that and the fact that I totally forgot about it and kind of, I don't know, pulled a rib on myself in terms of that. But, podcasts aren't for everybody. I get it. He says he's more of a private person, so totally respect that. I did eventually delete his number to make sure I don't accidentally text him again. So probably not going to happen, but it was a nice idea. If there are any other Jeff Seltzers out there, definitely reach out. I'd love to, probably text you accidentally or maybe get in the podcast if you want. So there's that. Lastly, for the week, I did want to call out something that was, I guess, interesting to me. So as you may or may not know or remember, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I made my podcast debut on a podcast called the MWO, the Major World Order, which is like a subset of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. Andrew, Billy, and Jake. Had a great experience, and that's kind of what led me to eventually deciding I should have a podcast, and that's kind of what led us to where we are today. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for them, I'm not really sure, they recorded their last episode a few weeks ago, and they've officially retired from podcasting. So much like every other journey, I guess their podcast had to come to an end. I think they were on for about 5 years or so, which is a really cool, journey, a really cool length for a podcast. I would imagine having to schedule across 3 different guys every week could get very cumbersome and very challenging. I know just for myself, doing solo pods, I got to find time, especially around my, personal things. And even trying to find guests is difficult as well. And they often have guests too. So I'm sure that's a variable that they have to deal with. I'm happy for them if this is what they wanted. Obviously, I'm glad that I was part of their journey. I'm super, super thankful to the 3 guys that kind of kicked off my journey here. And as I started this podcast as well, they were all super helpful in terms of getting me set up. So in terms of any questions or advice I needed, they were super helpful in answering and responding. So Hope everything goes well for the three guys. I'm sure I'll see them again at some point soon, either at a wrestling event or a major live event or something like that. But either way, I'm happy that the podcast existed, because without the MWO, there would be no Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I mean, maybe people would have stories with me, but not really with me, if that makes any sense. With that said, I think that's going to be it for the week. If you have any questions or want to reach out or, whatever, definitely go on Instagram at Everybody Has a Story Pod. Shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think about the episode. Let me know who you want as a future guest. Anybody out there, if you have a story to tell, would love to have a conversation, see what we can do. Month of December is pretty much booked up, so as long as everybody shows up that I've scheduled, we should be good. Although, as we've seen in the past, it doesn't always happen, but hopeful. And if not, I'll quickly sub as I usually do. TikTok is at Everybody Has a Story Pod. You can reach out to the show directly at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. For all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always reach out or go check out jeffseltzer.com. Reminder, tell everybody you know the show is video on Spotify and YouTube, and audio on those two places, as well as Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, anywhere else you can find a podcast. And that would be that. With that said, have an amazing week. Hope everything goes well, and hopefully we'll be back next week with a couple of guests. Take care. Bye.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. 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 Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.